President Bola Tinubu yesterday held a closed-door meeting with Emir of the State of Qatar, His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, as part of his two-day state visit to Qatar, where he stressed that Nigeria was ready for business. The executive session was preceded by bilateral deliberations between the two leaders, which culminated in the signing of historic agreements between both nations, opening a gateway for leveraging the potential of mutual cooperation in pivotal sectors of education, enterprise development, investment promotion, youth empowerment, mining, tourism, and sports. Before the signing ceremony at the Qatar Presidential Palace, Tinubu assured his host of Nigeria's preparedness to welcome investors into the country, noting the ongoing reforms that favor innovation, return on investments, and multiculturalism. Meanwhile, speaking yesterday at the Nigeria-Qatar Business and Investment Forum in Doha, Tinubu charged Qatar's captains of industry to report any government official who demanded a bribe or any form of inducement at any point in their business endeavor moving forward. He gave them full assurance of direct access to the president's office. Tinubu reiterated that Nigeria was ready for serious business, saying his administration would deal decisively with any and all entrenched interests in the country who undermined investor confidence in the Nigerian economy. He pledged to remove all bottlenecks standing in the way of profitable and legitimate enterprise.
The point of contact, don't overbribe. And if it's taken from you, revert to us. Don't give. Don't let it be a problem from investing. Nigeria is serious about the revolution and evolution in business promotion that we have. We are going to remove all obstacles. We have done so much within 9 months. And I'm assuring you, it's easy. Free in, free out. Bring your investment. Whenever you are ready to go, your money is free to go out. I give you that assurance.
Right, assurances from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on his state visit to Qatar. Rufai, your take on this story?
Yes, assurances, schwa you, like our former president used to say, these things are good. First, let me start with the visit. We're in Qatar because we need investment. We want to collaborate with every nation in the world to be able to get investment in. That's good. That's very good. And commendations, that finally we're out there to get investment for our country after we have squandered our riches in the past. I'm not going to go into that tale of how we squandered our riches in the 70s in the past after the Yom Kippur War, when in the space of 73 to about 78, we made about $32 billion from crude oil that in 1970 we made only $200 million from. But we're reaching out. And Qatar today is a viable partner. Qatar is on top. They've been able to translate their wealth into infrastructure. They hosted the World Cup, it was a spectacle. They invested that money into their economy. And they had oil just like us, and they still have oil just like us. And we've seen what they've been able to do with that oil. We've got a very strong currency. And you can see what they have done. They had a couple of agreements there. Already, the Qatari Foundation, and I must note this, have started doing some things in the space of education in Nigeria, building orphanages in Borodo and all of that. And Babagana Zulu was well aware of that. He also sounded off on that. But now, we want more investment. They signed many agreements, about 7 agreements, some memorandum of understanding across areas. There's a need to be able to set up, a joint investment body, the Nigerian Qatar, chamber, to be able to bring about and facilitate investment. You know, people-to-people diplomacy, as they will say. Also, we're looking at areas like agriculture, we're looking at areas like mines, we're looking at areas like, you know, solid minerals. Hence, the ministers are out there to be able to get this investment in, which all of that, we've got no problem with that on the surface of things. Despite the fact that even before this visit, we had complained heavily about the fact that the president's sons were out there on the visit, but everything as regards optics, you know, it's all good, and we have signed these agreements, but the question will be the follow-up. We signed one with Saudi Arabia not quite long. How far have we been able to follow up on that? How have we been able to make good on those promises? Are those investments coming in? Are we seeing the FDI directly in our sectors of the economy? That's a question we should ask. The other one I have problems with is the statement attributed to the president, saying that in a bid to reassure the investors from Qatar, he went ahead to say that if any of my government functionaries ask you for bribe, let me know. Pretty much reminds me of somebody that's trying to sell a product to somebody and he's saying, no, my product is genuine. But if any of my salesmen at some point sell you a fake product, come back to me. What you have done is you have casted doubts in the mind of people. Although some people, the supporters of the president, this is their slant on it. They said, oh, it shows that the president is very transparent and is taking the issues head on and all of that. But from a salesman's perspective, you're trying to woo investors to come to your country. At the same time, you're telling them there's a possibility of bribe. Some have even argued for that, say, oh, they know these things already, so it's good that the president reassures them. But at the same time, you're selling your country. And these are the people that talk about demarketing. When we speak the truth to them, they say, oh, you're demarketing the country. But you are now telling these people that there's a possibility of bribe. And these are the key sectors that the Qatari will probably have interfaces with when they come. They'll talk to solid minerals. They'll talk to agriculture. They'll talk to all the sectors. And you're saying if they ask you for bribe. One, is it an indictment on your ministers in the first place? Secondly, isn't it demarketing of the prospects of this same country you're selling? Thirdly, are we really sure of this product we're selling? Because as a salesman, you just sell the advantages of the product. Let the Qataris come and discover Nigeria. And when they discover Nigeria, if they have bottlenecks, you settle it out. Also, another part of this agreement we have to look at is President Tinubu has made a lot of trips, but we are not seeing the money. The question is, when are we going to start accounting for the money from all these trips? Like you saw, a warehouse was looted the other day. There is pain, there is hunger in the land. We better start getting this revenue in on time. We're seeing the trips, but we also want to see the revenue.
Right.
But good one.
Okay. Yesterday, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, with a team of ministers and other officials of government in Doha, Qatar, held what was called a business and investment forum as part of the official state visit of President Tinubu to the state of Qatar. Now, this business and investment forum took place against the background of what was almost going to look like a diplomatic conflict within Nigeria and the state of Qatar. The Qataris had originally said that they would not be available for the business and investment forum because they had other engagements. The note verbal was leaked, contrary to what you will expect should be the normal situation. But the Nigerian government was able to manage this situation. The note verbal, was followed up with another note verbal. A note verbal is the formal, it's less than formal than than a note. Yeah, that's what the theory says. It's less formal than a note, but they rearrange it. And then the Business and Investment Forum took place. First, kudos to the state of Qatar for recognizing and respecting and helping Nigeria to save face, in what could have been a diplomatic tiff. And also to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for managing that situation against the expectations of the opposition elements who were beginning to make a big capital out of that on social media. So as it happened, the state visit occurred, and then the Business and Investment Forum took place yesterday in Doha. An MOU was signed across 7 sectors between the two countries, involving investment promotion, education, healthcare, youth promotion, energy, and all that. 7 in total. I'll not waste your time by listing all the 7. And President Tinubu used the opportunity of that occasion to assure the state of Qatar that, look, Nigeria is ready for business. That was his point. And that we have a youthful population that is ready for business. And that, look, if there is any obstacle on your path, he, Bola Tinubu, will remove those obstacles. In other words, he will provide an enabling environment in terms of enterprise development, in terms of tourism, in terms of mining, the remaining aspects of the MOU that I did not mention earlier on. It is the duty of the president as the #1 foreign policy officer of the country to do that. So I do not think that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu made any mistake. And he assured the people of Qatar that, look, if you bring your investment, if anybody asks you for any bribe, let me know. I will deal decisively with the situation. I think the president is also exactly on point in that regard. And I say that as a student of history and somebody who has been writing on Nigerian history for more than 30 years, living history. You will recall that in January 1966, when the first coup in Nigeria occurred, one of the first points made by the Nzogu team was about the 10%ers, the people who asked for bribe in Nigeria. We have not lived off, that stain. Somebody, who was I again? I don't exactly, like to repeat these things. Refer to Nigeria as a fantastically corrupt country. So President Tinubu trying to assert the integrity of Nigeria and his own commitment to defend that integrity, I think is in order, is on point. He was just trying to reassure them that don't worry about corruption. Not that you bring an investment to Nigeria. Somebody in my government will say, give me 10%, give me 15%. The 10%ers originally referred to by Nzogu. So I think so far, it's a good outing, but Nigerians will expect outcomes. They will expect that this will translate into opportunities. I've always made the point here. I used to work very closely with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs officials, interfacing from the president's office. And my point is that, look, not enough follow-through happens. We go and sign all these MOUs. They just keep the papers. People have collected their ESTA codes. They have had the opportunity to travel. Nobody even reminds the president that, look, there are action points on these MOUs. Now, I go to Sheikh Al Thani, the emir of Qatar. He made a point, and I'm quoting him directly. He said, follow-up is everything. It's a very intelligent point. He said, look, we will play our part. You have to play your part on your part in Nigeria. He told President Tinubu, he said, look, we are on the same page. And of course, everybody is on the same page with Nigeria. Nigeria is the biggest, largest economy. Choose whatever adjective you find relevant in this context. In Africa, a country of over 200 million people, the biggest market in Africa, people want to do business with us. But we can't just go on these trips and then we don't follow through. We don't follow up. And that's what I took from Sheikh Al Thani's point. He says he will send a team to Nigeria after Ramadan. That means the Qataris will be expecting that Nigeria will follow up that Nigeria will follow through. That's where the challenge is in this regard. We've been told that Mr. Wale Edun, Minister of Finance, coordinating Minister of the Economy, we had this team that will interface with the Qataris. We hope that Mr. Wale Edun, Minister of Finance, coordinating Minister of the Economy, we have enough presence of mind to hold up all the Qatari Sheikh Qatani, to his words about follow through. This is what this is all about. Otherwise, in terms of optics, the Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the president of Nigeria, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, they've been able to save face. They've been able to resolve what looked like a potential diplomatic minus, but Nigerians will be more interested in outcomes.
Absolutely. Outcomes will be the most important aspect of this visit. But in terms of the evaluation so far, one could adjudge this state visit by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to Qatar as quite successful on the surface of things. When you look at the reports or news coming out from that visit, you would see that he said the right things. You have to give it to the president. In terms of his outing so far, he has been able to represent the country properly. I say this because perhaps one of the main statements of this administration is where he talks about the fact that the Nigerian youth, and he talks Nigerian youth being the best in the world, skilled, resourceful, hardworking. And I recall very vividly a former president who had termed on the global stage Nigerian youths as lazy. And I'm not sure Nigerian youths have forgiven him yet for that statement. So for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to go to Qatar and speak about the Nigerian population and talk about the strengths of this nation being largely the people and the quality of the people speaks volumes. And I must celebrate that, because when we talk about public officials going abroad or even on social media, it's easy to just paint and use the same brush to paint young people in Nigeria, when indeed in every part of the world where they have their enabling environment to thrive, we are usually at the forefront of things, usually number one. So kudos on that front. With regards to his statement around corruption, I also felt that it was quite important for him to have highlighted that. I likened it in normal terms to you seeing a bus driven by a company driver and you telling them that we've followed all safety measures. However, in the event that this driver is driving recklessly, this is the number to call. So in order to give assurances, because we've been plagued by stories of corruption, and we have heard stories of investors who've made a U-turn because of the bottlenecks and corrupt officials they've met when they'd come to Nigeria, people asking for a percentage or even a certain amount before they're even allowed to make any inroads in the country. So the fact that the president said he's so committed to investors coming in and operating without any challenges and putting his integrity on the line and saying you can come to me directly is a strong message. It's a very strong message. But what I would say is that in so doing, if he's saying that they will ensure that there will be no bottlenecks, let him start with his team. We've heard stories around and conversations around favors for appointments. If that is true, then he needs to investigate his own team, because if it's the president's office that they are coming to report to, he must ensure that the president's officials, his officials themselves, are not the ones who are perpetrating the corruption. Because we heard the EFCC boss say that within the ranks of the EFCC, there were members there who were collecting collecting bribes from people. So he must ensure that he sanitizes his own camp before he's able to give assurances to people. But I thought it was a very good thing to have highlighted the fact that he was strongly committed to ensuring that they had no bottlenecks when they come into the country to invest. Beyond that, he also highlighted the fact that the new NSA, his appointed NSA, Nuhu Ribadu, was once the head of EFCC. So that's his commitment to fighting corruption and ensuring that it doesn't serve as a bottleneck when, when indeed those actions following this signing of memorandum happens. Then finally, I'd like to talk about in terms of tourism, because they mentioned tourism in that. And we know that Qatar, following the blockage or the closure of Dubai to many Nigerians, has become the new latest destination in the Middle East for holidays holiday makers in Nigeria. And if we're looking at tourism and signing memorandums of understanding with countries like Qatar, then we must be able to put in place measures to ensure that Nigeria is open for tourism. Unfortunately, if we're speaking at this moment, the fact that security is still a big issue, and whilst we're looking at the economy and other areas, we haven't yet decisively shown the way out in terms of what are we going to do to stem the incessant kidnappings, banditry and the likes in the country. Nigeria is great potential for tourism. We have the Chapawadi Mountains in Taraba State. We have the cold and hot springs in Ekiti. There's so many tourist attractions, but unfortunately, it is not attractive enough because you cannot secure the lives and property of people who come to holiday here. But I do think there are many opportunities. He talks about education, enterprise, investment in enterprise, mining, like you mentioned, and many others. Again, as we often say, following these travels and coming back with conversations on investment, it is what will happen afterwards. So we look forward to seeing actionable, actions following this conversation. Well, let's move on to other news making the rounds at this hour. The Central Bank of Nigeria successfully concludes sale of government securities, issuing over 1 trillion naira in short-term instruments as part of its liquidity management exercise. Also, the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA, and the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, CPPE, raised the alarm over federal government's 750% additional levy on expatriate employment. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has beefed up security across its facilities in the country after the Agricultural and Rural Development Secretariat of the Federal Capital Territory Administration, located in Dede, was looted yesterday. On the foreign scene, Hamas delegation has arrived in Cairo for Gaza truce talks, but no sign of Israel as they demand clarity from Hamas on hostages. Haiti declares curfew after over 4,000 inmates escaped jail when armed gangs stormed the country's 2 main prisons in Port-au-Prince. Nikki Haley defeats Donald Trump in Republican primaries in Washington, D.C. to record her first primary victory over the former U.S. president.